So in response to the affirmative side of their potential solutions and all that, I would like to state some of our disadvantages that we believe will happen. First is I want to state that voter ID laws will deprive many Americans the right to vote, and this will translate into a significant amount of fewer votes. Millions of Americans lack personal IDs at the moment. There's millions across the country that don't have their driver's license, and so because of that, 11% of U.S. citizens, which is more than 21 million Americans, because they don't have their IDs, they won't be able to get voter IDs eventually. And so if we're allowing the pass of voter ID laws, potentially we're saying that more than 21 million Americans won't have the right to vote anymore, and that will heavily skew whatever election is going on throughout the country. The second point, disadvantage that I would like to state is that voter ID laws will reduce turnout. And this brings me back to the point of the affirmative, that's when she gave two examples of two electoral cases where the voters, because there are a handful of fraudulent cases, the winner was changed. A study in 2014 by the Government Accountability Office showed that strict photo ID laws reduced the turnout by 2 to 3 percentage points, and while that does not seem like a lot, this translates into tens of thousands of votes that can be lost in a single state. And so this actually makes the voting process and outcome even more drastic and skewed than just a handful of potential fraudulent votes. And these are potential fraudulent votes as well. And furthermore, photo ID laws have a particularly depressing effect on the turnout among racial minorities and other vulnerable groups, because many people see voter ID laws as a way to get at minorities and not giving them the ability to vote. And if this is the case, this will worsen the participation in all voters, and it will worsen the gaps between the colors and the whites. The next point that I want to make is that passing voter ID laws can cost the country up to millions of dollars over a very small and irrelevant issue. Like my colleague already stated, in-person fraud is vanishingly rare. I just want to restate, the recent study from the year 2000 to the year 2014, there have only been 31 credible allegations of voter impersonation during a period of time in which over 1 billion ballots were cast. So out of 1 billion ballots, only 31 were certified to be fraudulent. This problem is very small and feeble, and for the whole country to adopt this law will cost us millions of dollars. States incur sizable costs when implementing these voter ID laws, including the cost of educating the public, training poll workers, and providing IDs to voters. Some examples are Texas nearly spent over $2 million on voter education and outreach efforts following the passage of their voter ID law. Furthermore, Indiana spent over $10 million to produce ID cards between 2007 and 2010. And so if we were to pass these voter ID laws in every single state, that would be an immense amount of money just to the basic foundations of the voter ID laws. And in response to the solvency plan that the affirmative gave, which would be to issue everyone free IDs, we believe that that will not work. We believe that giving out free voter IDs is a very impractical thing to do, and these things are very inconvenient for both the individual and the state. For the individual, there are many factors that come into getting free voter IDs. In order to obtain these free voter IDs, the time cost involving the learner of photo ID laws, requirements, and how to meet them must be looked into. Also, the cost of purchasing required birth, marriage, naturalization, and other certificates are something to look into too. In some situations, these calculations include legal fees needed to secure these documents. Next, the cost of travel expenses to the departments of vital records and motor vehicles is something that we need to look into as well. Cost of travel time and waiting at agencies. And finally, the expenses for documentation, travel, and waiting in time are all significant. These can pile up to almost $1,500. While While typically it might run you maybe $75 to $175, when legal fees are added and personal fees are added, this really ranges up to $1,500. And in Pennsylvania, almost 3 people were chosen to be tested to see if voter ID laws is worth it or not. They ended up paying over $1,000 apiece. And why this is inconvenient for the state is that when aggregating the cost of individuals for free voter IDs, plus the cost to state government for providing these IDs, the expenses can accumulate to tens of millions per state and into the hundreds of millions for a whole country. Thank you.